Hey everyone, I dedicate this video to Ajna's Wonder Planets, and I want to talk a little bit more about vaccines. I'm not going to argue about them, because if you believe that injecting viruses directly into you and your family is anything but pure death, then you're gonna get what you asked for. It's as simple as that, because even if you believe that it somehow helps, nothing is going to explain those toxic chemicals. That's why it's beyond ridiculous to even talk about it, because likely the people that you're talking to are victims of vaccines. Officially, 40% of humans accept them. That's way too much. 60% are unsure or disagree. If you would go to the channel vax.tv, link will be in the description, you would see that there's many parents, nurses, doctors coming out telling you how harmful it is. They actually experienced it. Do you still want to live in denial? Of course, I gotta mention the sheep once again. Vegans, they actually buy the medicine, which they call supplements, and support Monsanto, Bayer, and all the companies that make vaccines. But as I proved in another video, of course they support the death of humans. So it's not a surprise, I hope.
These minerals are very beneficial in trace amounts. The mercury, the high mercury in flying fish and swordfish is very important for their buoyancy. Without that mercury, they could never reach the heights that they do. The flying fish would never be able to fly without that mercury. It helps it stay lofty, especially in fluids, so it can rise up and then fly or jump or leap very far. Also, we found that some whales that leap very high are high in mercury too. Not because of the pollution in the world, but because plankton that goes out there and breaks it down from all of the mercury that's in our in the rocks in the ocean. The algae breaks it down. The algae discharges it. The plankton breaks it down to a substance that certain animals, whales and seals and different animals eat the plankton. That's not a toxic mercury. Pharmaceutical industry wants you to believe it is, because they're poisoning you with mercury with injections, and they want you to blame our oceans and our fish for your mercury toxicity. But one injection of mercury, of any vaccine with mercury in or any injection, even penicillin has mercury in it. Almost all injections have mercury, liquid mercury in them. The amount of toxicity from one injection would be like 100 years of eating fish. But you're getting it all at one time. It's very toxic. If you get into the fish, you're eating a little at a time to be able to utilize it. There is no toxicity from that. Mostly the fish I eat are high mercury fish. I like oysters and I like scallops and swordfish. Swordfish is my favorite, and that's considered the highest in mercury. I had all my hair on different parts of my body checked, and I didn't have over 4.28. And you're not toxic with mercury until you're 11 point something. And then you're very toxic if you're 14 point something.
Let me tell you, what they do to the military is to brainwash you and beat you physically into a pulp so you listen to everything they say. They give you at least 18 vaccines when you enter the military. That means you've got 8,000 times the toxic dose of mercury for a year, and you're doing it in one day. They shoot you with that 9 to 12 shot gun, and they do 18, so 9 in each one, bam, bam. You've got 18 vaccines in 5 minutes. The amount of poison, that's why a lot of those recruits die, or they get very sick. That calls out the real weak ones. Then the rest of them, they do that to shorten their lives. Because remember, if you're a vet, you get benefits your whole life. They end your life sooner, so they cut down on the benefit paying. they pay out. So you have to reason. There's a reason for all the damage that they do. And, you know, you don't see the senators and their sons out there except for once in a while going out there to war. No. They don't shoot them up with vaccines. To be a congressman and a senator, you don't get 18 shots of vaccines. You're not required to have anything. So the military is no example. Well, you have to consider, they actually do boot camp. They don't give them milk. They give them soda and juices and water. That's no good nutrients. They don't give them any raw food. There's no apples. There's no bananas. It's all processed garbage.
For the government doesn't mean that they're being taken care of by it.
Yeah. No, they treat them the worst of any people there is. They treat them as bad as they do patients in hospitals. And that's the worst. The worst food. It takes 50 to 200 molecules of fat to remove 1 molecule of mercury safely. So in each vaccine there was 76 quadrillion molecules of mercury. It would take 90 lifetimes to get it all out of your body safely. In your lifetime you will never get rid of all of that.
It just stores in your brain.
Yeah, most stores in your brain.
Comes at night.
They want everybody to be idiots. In children who do not get vaccinations, you've got 3 geniuses out of every 10. They do not want geniuses because they'll be hacking their military, the banks, everything would be hacked because there would be geniuses all
You
around.
want to tolerate oppression when you're
Yeah,
genius.
they make sure that, they keep power. That's why they want everybody to have vaccines.
Humans have problems imagining that they harmed their children when they got them vaccinated. And more importantly, their ego, that they got fooled to do it. Or that their parents got fooled to let them get vaccinated. It creates this denial. It's hard to snap out of it. When I was 14, all of us boys went to the nurse's office and got vaccines. Nobody questioned it. You feel under pressure and you just follow like a sheep. Once you look into it, polio, for example, statistically, it increases by 400% when you get the polio vaccine, meaning that polio creates polio. All of this stuff, swine flu, there's no way to get it except if you get the swine flu vaccine. All of this is done so our lifespan is cut in half. Combine that with a high carbohydrate diet, a sugarless body, you're dead.
The kids are fine. They get a battery of vaccine, because there's multiple batteries, if I'm not mistaken. And during one of those batteries, something happens. There's, seizures, high fever, weird stuff. And when they come out the other side of that, they're not the same. If they come out the other side at all. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a whole bunch of kids that don't come out the other side. Is that true?
There are a lot of kids that don't make it to be kids. They die as infants and in very, very early stages of life.
Yeah. So what do you have? Can you give me any non-personal examples where you've heard little stories where you've heard of such a thing?
Well, I mean, sudden infant death syndrome, Mark, it's not a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. It's not a myth. And anybody at all who either has a kid or is in the medical industry has heard of sudden infant death syndrome. It's a real problem. It's a real thing. But firsthand, I have seen, young children around the ages of 2-ish mm-hmm. Get vaccines, and they seem like, they're just your normal everyday kid. They're fine. They're talking to you. They're, they're misbehaving just like every other kid. And then, between 16 hours or 48 hours later, their parent brings them back in, and they're cross-eyed, unresponsive, drooling, can't talk. Lots of things are wrong. And they're given compensation. They're basically muted. There's a website about it, about how many people get, money because their kid was damaged by a vaccine. They basically get muted. Nothing ever happens. They have to sign a paper and they're shut up. They don't get to talk about it.
Look at all the babies born to the tribes people. All these babies are laid back and happy. Not crying all the time. They'll fuss. The children obey the parents. Everything is easy. Once you give a kid a vaccine when he's born, you can better believe that's a difficult child. That's why they're vaccinating children the day of birth with the hepatitis B vaccine. So there you've got a difficult child. You know that child's not going to be mindful, and it's going to be a pain in the ass. My mother came from a family of 13 children. She was one of 13 children. They all got along. They all worked together. They all got degrees, but they all were raised on raw milk and raised in a warm climate, Alabama. You know, so they had everything, and they weren't poor. My grandfather was a drug pusher. He was a pharmacist. So, and they owned the drugstore, you know, so they made their own raw ice cream. And they sold that at the drugstore. So they grew up healthfully. So of course they got along. What happens when we came out, the next generation, poking us with tetanus shots. Gave me a tetanus shot, my first tetanus shot, at 3 months old.
And that's what caused autism, pretty much.
I got autism at 18 months old from my third tetanus shot. So they created purposely.
And they can do a lot of damage. They can reduce your lifespan by 50%. And we lived less than 50% of the life we're supposed to. All animals live 7 times the time it takes them to finish maturation. We finish maturation at 21 years old. 7 times 21 is 147 years. So we should be living to 150 years, basically. We're dropping dead 60s and 70s mainly. That's what we average around. 62 years old is my age, is the average death age. Average death age. You see, there's few people in the world that live live above 100, and then many people die at birth or in childhood. And it's a lot more to do that than live to 100 years old. So if our average is 62 years old, what is the real average if the medical profession were truthful? Late 40s? Same thing they're accusing of our lifespan being before they made it better 100 years ago. Because that's what they said, the lifespan average 47 years old. It's no different than it was back then. Still that age if you consider everybody. People who live longer over an average are people who live in countries and on farms. Very few early deaths. Why? Because they're not, unless they're using chemical farming. But 100 years ago, those were the people who lived longest. We had to take a day trip in a boat, and then we had to swim for about a mile. And this was all to get to this one island where his tribe came from. Got to the tribe, they wouldn't let me into their village, so they brought quite a few of their villagers out to meet me. And of course we had a three-way, translation from their native language to Bisaya to Tagalog to English. So it took time, but I thought I was talking to late 30-year-old women and early 40-year-old women, and these women and men were in their 70s and 80s. Perfect teeth, white, solid. And I said, well, how old do you live? And they said 140, 150 is what we average. And we only have a child every 7 years. And we straddle them. Sometimes we have one every 3 or 4 years by different women. And we keep the tribe low. We keep it self-sustaining, self-sufficient. We live like this. We go fishing every day. We eat raw fish only. And we eat coconut meat and a fruit once in a while, a banana, a green banana or a green mango. And they don't eat much fruit. So they eat three foods. That shoots the hell out of the USDA's pyramid. The USDA pyramid is to keep your manufacturers in money and you eat your garbage food. That's all they ate, fish. And these guys were stocky and big, and the women were solid. And I had this concept that if you ate fish, you'd always be skinny. And these guys were huge, and yet the Maasai tribe in Africa only eats red meat, and they are the skinniest, tallest, strongest, healthiest tribe that they were before the 8-year drought, or 9-year drought now. But they've deteriorated and they're accepting care packages. Dehydrated milk and cereals, so their health is going down fast. The tribes are almost decimated. They've lost over 2/3 of their tribal members and 3/4 of their herds by the droughts that were induced by our government in conjunction with the UK British government. So when you eat cooked foods and toxins like that, the body is not going to be healthy. You're going to lose cells, you're going to lose health, and you're going to age. Instead of living to be 150, you're going to drop dead from 40 to 60 to 70 years old is the average. Think about that. We have a choice. Don't have to live like that.
I have a lot of respect for Arjunus, everything that he did. I wish I could have met him. Even the people who knew him believe that he was assassinated, and once you learn what happened to him over the years, it's very hard to say that it wasn't so. Balconies do collapse, especially in Asia probably, but once you learn that he also talked about chemtrails, so he obviously did his homework on the New World Order, it becomes very suspicious, to say the least. Here's the crazy part. When he almost fasted himself to death, he said that he was 96 pounds. So I was wondering, how much is that in kilograms? It's 43 kilograms. Exactly my weight when I almost died. So you can maybe imagine how much I can relate to him. I believe that he would want all of us to be happy and to spread his message, and that's what I promote. The most nutritious diet there is, consisting of raw foods. Both of us promoted human health. That's what it's all about.
I'm on the radar for the medical profession. They've come after me many times. They've threatened me. They poisoned the food in my house.
I don't know how many people know I was kidnapped 3 years ago and a hotel room and injected with 3 vaccines. I have to concur that they were vaccines, the swine flu, because that's when I talked against them. And they wanted to kill me and say, see, he died of swine flu. Because on that international radio show that I went on, I said the only way you can get swine flu is if you're a pig or you get shot with the, the vaccine. And if you'll internet search, Just Say No to the Vaccine song, YouTube, you come up with a song that 13 seconds into it, you hear me say, the only way you can get swine flu is to be infected with it. So they obviously grabbed me to inject me. This was, a few weeks before the swine flu was supposed to be released. And they injected me with it. I was very sick. I was passing out. I couldn't stand for more than 5 minutes without getting very dizzy. And then I had to drop to my knees and keep myself from falling and hurting myself. So I called the hotel and said I need a driver immediately. So the driver came about 45 minutes later, and I was vomiting and skin started exploding. I mean, literally, in slow motion, my skin would just open up and start seeping. And I mean, if I take off my shirt and show you, it looks like I had bullets go through right out the back. Small holes here and then big holes here. And then I've got, this is the biggest one.
Within 24 hours, I was broken out. I have tiny little scars everywhere. I have freckles. I have minor freckles. Freckles come from vaccines, toxicity, a lot of them, in people who don't normally have freckles. And people who eat a lot of moldy potatoes eat freckles. That's why the Irish have so many freckles. Different things create freckles. Those are glandular tissue. They can no longer function as a gland or an organ and get sent to the skin where they can still be alive and act. So from those injections, I became like Robert Redford, and I had very little freckles on my body before that.
Don't you think they gave you a huge dose?
Oh, they 3 of them.
Oh.
When I woke and caught them, there were 3 hypodermics, 1 hanging from my arm and 2 on the bed.
Wow.
So, and the cloth was falling down my face, and there were 2, looked like regular American, CIA types, and they certainly weren't Filipino, and that's where I was, in the Philippines. And the guy on my right grabbed the cloth and put it back over my mouth and nose, and I was out in a split second. I'd had ether probably 5 times in my life during surgeries, and it took 17, 19 seconds to put me out. This had me out in a split second, and it was odorless. So it was high military CIA garbage. So, or somebody that had access to that kind of grade of medical chemicals. When the driver came, I said, now I'm going to pass out a lot. You do not take me to the hospital. I need to get to a wharf. I need old shark or stingray. And that's what we're looking for. And I wasn't going to explain why. So, to him. But when fish are killed, and any animal, it starts building ammonia as it ferments. Ammonia is what your blood makes in the kidneys to prevent the red white blood cells from entering the kidney. Otherwise you'd be pissing blood all day and you'd be anemic and die. So the kidney manufactures ammonia, and that keeps the red white blood cells from entering the kidney, except if they're dead. If they're alive, they won't enter the kidney because of the ammonia. If your kidney doesn't produce ammonia, you will have blood in your urine. So I knew that when you have ammonia in the blood, the red blood cells won't touch the ammonia, yet the ammonia will attach to mercury, aluminum, all kinds of poisons. So I knew that that's what I had to get. So we got to the second wharf, and there was a baby stingray that had been dead 2 days already. And they were just going to throw it out. So I think I paid $2 for this stingray this big, and chopped it up over the next 2 days and had like a quarter of a cup at a time. Vomited and vomited, but I stopped passing out within about 12 hours. So I was able to keep myself from dying, from my red blood cells from being poisoned. And but I still exploded. My skin was just leaking and exploding with this stuff for about 6 months. Every April it would happen again at the anniversary.
So she said, you watch the polling place where these people are getting their free government paid for injections. They're going to be dropping dead and getting very sick. They counted 2,300 drop dead within 6 weeks. Do you know what the count is if you go to the CDC? 48. So I brought up the names where people could go to get the information on the swine flu fiasco of 76. I got so many calls for that. I got calls, for information. They wanted more, wanted me to be on lots of TV and radio stations, and I was getting death threats for 3 weeks. So I left the country to get away, and they got me. I still worked. I still went and did workshops. I very rarely sat like this. I was walking around and still functioned, and I was able to do that, even poison to that extent. So this diet can get you through anything. Not that you will go without being scarred, but this diet is that powerful. This food is that powerful that it can sustain you through almost anything.
I smelled like pork and tasted pork. No matter what I ate, I was tasting pork. And I hadn't eaten pork in like 3 months before this started, and didn't eat pork during that entire time. Yet the pork was coming out, so I could tell they had injected me with the swine flu,
They put
pork tissue.
Pork tissue.
That's what they put in the swine flu vaccine. So-called disease-degenerated porcine cells.
I know how to handle it. I knew how to survive. If I didn't, I would definitely be dead. And that's probably what they were expecting. Oh, he's got swine flu, and he said, on that radio show, nobody can get swine flu unless it's injected into them. And see, he has swine flu and he's dead. That's the only thing I can rationalize to do what they did to me, was to give me some disease that would kill me and point to it and say, see, here's what raw food did to him.
You have 16 times more tars in marijuana than you do in a cigarette. So of course that held on to the mercury, spread it throughout the system. I had one child that at 15 and a half, he saw these drug dealers hide 4 kilos of grass. So he stole it. For the next year and a half, or year and 9 months, he smoked it. Took him a whole year and 9 months to smoke it with his friends, and he had the largest amount of cancer. Mercury in the brain I'd ever seen in every joint. When he came to me, he was crippled. His knees were blown out, his elbows, and he couldn't do anything for himself. His mother had to take complete care of him. And that was from smoke. At that time, and the government still does it, if you're not a government-sanctioned poppy field or cocaine field or marijuana field, they will go over and spray thimerosal on your field. So that
If you're not government sanctioned?
Pardon?
If you're not government sanctioned, you said?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
you're not.
our CIA is peddling heroin, cocaine, crack into this country. Anyway, when it wasn't sanctioned, they poisoned it. So this kid had 4 kilos of mercury contamination. Well, you notice they haven't been spraying as much.
Yes.
Isn't that nice?
So we're going to look at who are the people behind these chemtrail.
Well, the Navy's backing it. They're the
Yeah, I
ones
know, but
that
one
have
of there's people behind it too.
Yeah.
Corporations, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Which corporations are involved in this chemtrail assault attack on us? And
Well, Boeing's involved because you're using
Uh-huh.
they developed the planes for it. And they
And,
jerry-rigged the big tanks and the carrier planes. If you want to receive that information about chemtrails, it's a good thing to work on.
because the weather pattern that they
Yeah.
did in Oklahoma was caused by this. And they...
It's rather hard to do it. HAARP has more to do with that.
Oh, not...
I noticed there's a website called HAARPstatus.com. It
Yeah.
gives you all the HAARP data and all the chemtrail data.
Yep.
And I have, for 2 months, looked at the sky and then looked at the website, and they're spot on the chemtrails.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, HAARPstatus.com.
Well, I know, but one thing they said, they lost farmlands and they lost homes and lives because of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's a
HAARP
terrible
and
thing.
chemtrail.
They have to work together.
It did show HAARP in Oklahoma for days and days
Yep.
and days before those tornadoes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, we're going to
I
have...
think we could do is speak out against it. Should we do a large protest, or what do you suggest?
I'm not involved. I told you I'm involved into the food thing. There's
Okay.
no chance I have to do it.
Well, I know, but you can make a suggestion if you think a protest is going to change it.
Let me tell you, I don't think you're going to have to go up with guns to the military.
No.
And Boeing and whoever's, Monsanto is probably putting out Monsanto or Dow's producing the chemicals for them.
Yeah.
So, you have
Well,
to go after
they
those.
have the drought-resistant seeds, and they have the aluminized seeds, so we know they're the ones behind it.
Yeah.